So my name is Steve Boston. I'm a television producer. I've been pitching shows for about 15, 16 years. I was thinking the other day, because I've been doing this for a long time, I said, I've got to try a different angle. I've got to try to take some risks. And so while driving, I said, look, you got to pitch the show that you've been kind of refraining from pitching, because it really involves my story, a 43-year-old story. And like Howard Stern said, when he was doing radio in the early days, he said, boy, I'm not doing too well. Let me just be myself and let it all hang out. And his ratings went up, and the rest is history. So, and this, I'm gonna be myself with this particular concept and let it all hang out. So I've just driven from New York City to Indianapolis, Indiana. Long drive, but I liked it. I got to think. But I'm going to talk to a former head of homicide, Captain Robert Snow. And he's a very interesting guy, because he died in 1917. And when he died, he rose out of his body at great speed, flew across the city line of New York City, and ascended into the afterlife. And he came back to the physical world in 1947. And he's 70 years old now, with a great story to tell about his experience.
You realize everything you thought about the world is wrong. It's not the way we work. Things work different.
And the whole mass world thinks that.
Yeah, you have to rethink your position on the world. And not only that, and there was some concern, especially when I got down where the 28 points, I got to number 20, I'd proven 20 out of 28, hadn't disproved a single one yet. Now you're getting worried, because now I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is true. What am I going to do with it? My wife, by the way, who was also retired.
I saw that interview you did on Sci-Fi Channel, where she was like,
oh yeah, she's a retired police officer also, and she was death on this. She wanted just to take it to your grave, Bob. Shut up and take it to your grave. Said this is not what police captains talk about. They'll come down heavy, and they were right. It pretty well ended my career at the police department. Personally, I felt threatened by it, because I wasn't ready unless I had absolute 100% proof to throw away my whole belief system, and then you have to you start over and embrace a whole new system. You realize everything you thought about the world is wrong. The clarity, I mean, it was just vivid as this room right now. I mean, I could see, for example, I looked at the paintings, I could see every brush stroke. I could see every brush stroke. I could look around, I could see everything in the room, everything.
You were virtually back in time.
Yeah, it was amazing. It depends. Again, every case be different. Some people, again, make claims with no proof at all, and they just what I see and hear. And you're right; those can't be proved. But if you, in an example, I worked homicide for a lot of years. Homicide, a lot of times starts off with just a few facts, and you build on them. You start with your few facts you have, then you start building them. These always lead you to somewhere else. It's an interesting thing about whenever you interview any kind of witness in a homicide investigation, you always want to go have another contact from this. You have to find somewhere else to go from this. You never want an interview or any part of investigation to be a dead end. So one of the things you do when you're actually investigating a clue or talking to a witness is to find it leading somewhere else. And it'll eventually lead you to the proof you need.
I'm not sure if you've seen the series Cooper's Treasure, but it's one of my favorite shows right now. And it's about a guy that's been hunting after shipwrecks all his life for gold, silver, and jewels. But he received a roadmap for that from his friend Gordon Cooper, an astronaut in the 60s who took high-resolution photos of shipwrecks. Well, I'm also on a treasure hunt. I've been on a journey for 43 years, but it's a treasure hunt of a different kind. It's a treasure hunt in the opposite direction where the world has been going. And I've discovered these things. Number one, beneath our conscious memory, or memories of childhood and all that sort of thing, is another layer of the unconscious. And in that layer are, you could say, genetically coded memories of all the lives we've lived. Beneath that is another layer of the unconscious. And outrageous as it may seem, the history of the human race and how the races began is genetically coded in that layer. And most remarkable of all is another layer of the unconscious, that little voice that's inside us that speaks to us, and that we say when we die, our soul goes to heaven. Well, we go to heaven, but that self-conscious part of ourself can be reached in that layer beneath the history of the humanity, the history of the human race. Sounds outrageous, but here's what we're going to do in this series that will be proven. Number one, that each of us survives physical death. Number two, that each of us has lived on the earth more than once. Number three, that we can project part of our energy to a different location and reassemble ourselves there and be visible to individuals there. Number four, using this form, we can travel to the past and the future and bring back evidence of that journey. Number five, what is the secret of disease? How do people get disease? Why do they think they catch disease? Science hasn't figured this out. But deep within the mind are the answers to that and the remedies to that. Now this all might sound outrageous, but this will be proven step by step. In this series over several seasons, we will explore a land that religion won't touch. It won't go there. Science and psychology don't believe it exists, and they also haven't dug deep enough. We are going from a land that's discovered, like in Christopher Columbus's time, where he went westward in the opposite direction and discovered a new world. We will be going in the opposite direction, one step outside the physical world to bring proof of our existence in this. We're going into new territory, undiscovered.